In this video, we're going to go from this, we can strum all of the strings, to this. Hi, I'm Joe and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please subscribe below. This is a series of videos, so if you ring the bell down below, you'll also get notified when the next one comes out. So what's this series about? This series is about learning open position chords. In each video, I'm going to introduce you to two chords. These chords are generally combinations, meaning that you'll find them in most common chord progressions. But the idea here is to learn the chord shapes, and then learn how to switch back and forth between them. This video is broken down into 4 parts. In the first part, I'm going to introduce you to the chord shapes. Then, I'm going to play a musical example, and in the third part, I'm going to break down each individual song part for you so you can see exactly what I'm playing so you can practice them at home. And finally, the fourth part, I'm going to give you some practice tips. Are you ready to get started? Let's do this. Before we listen to the musical example in this lesson, I wanted to show you the 2 chords that we're going to be using. Now hopefully you watched the first video where I went over the D and the A chord, and I also talked about the neck of the guitar and the frets, and how I'm going to be referring to the fingerings of these chords so you can learn them. If you haven't watched that video yet, please go to the link below in the description. In that video, we talked again about the D chord and the A chord. The A chord is going to be exactly the same for this video lesson, and we're going to learn a new chord called the E chord. As a refresher though, the A chord starts with the low A string. Your first finger can go on the 2nd fret of the D string. Your second finger can go right behind it on the 2nd fret of the G string. And your third finger can go right behind it on the B string. Now again, most guitarists will play this as a bar chord, which basically is a straight line kind of across this frets. And I encourage you to learn it that way as well. The A chord starts here, and you simply bar across. The new chord we're going to look at is the E chord. The E chord is going to consist of the low E string. Our second finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the A string. Right behind that, we're going to put our third finger on the D string on the 2nd fret. And behind that, we're going to put our first finger on the 1st fret of the G string. What's nice about the E chord too, we can strum all of the strings. So that's the E chord. Let's give a listen to the track, and then afterwards I'm going to break down all the guitar parts for you so you can learn them. There's 3 parts to this song. The first part are your basic E and A chord. Now the song's in 4/4 time, so there's 4 beats per measure of music. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you're going to do is you're going to play your E for 3 beats, strike it again for the 4th beat, and then switch over to the A. So let's hear what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you're practicing, make sure you're counting out loud. It really helps set your internal clock so you can get better and better with your rhythm playing. That's the first part of the song. Now, if you want to embellish it like I did on the track, you can do one little extra thing. On the A chord, we're going to play the A sus4 chord, and we're going to actually pull off the sus down to the 3rd. So that was like this. And then I simply worked my way back on the chord. So again, I played the A, then I added the sus, and I pulled it off, And all the pull off basically means is when you play the first note and then you pull your finger off without picking again. That's a pull off. So all I did again was the A, sus, pull off, and then just work my way back on the chord. So it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that's the first part. But for starters, just go ahead and do the basic chords first. Okay, for the second part of the song, we're going to utilize the A shape, but we're going to move it up the neck onto the 9th fret. This is now going to make an E chord. And I'm also going to lose the pick. For this, I wanted a little bit of a finger part just to make it stand out a little differently. And it's a more subtle part, so we don't need it as loud as we needed the first part to be with the rockin' chords. So, the A chord moved up sounds like this. Remember A? Moved up. It's now an E chord. Now, I did something a little bit different. I wasn't playing all of the notes. I simply needed the top and the bottom note. I skipped the middle note, which actually is the root, because the bass player is already playing that root, and it's also in the bigger chord that we played for the first part. You can refinger it this way, just playing these two notes. And then what I did was I took this exact same shape and just moved it up to the 14th fret and played the same thing. And that's an A chord again. If you don't know the guitar kind of repeats itself after the 12th fret. It's just an octave up. So this A chord is the same as this A chord. It's just an octave higher. The part again was E, up to the A, and that's all there is to it. And now your challenge part, the third part. That part is made up of chords as well, but it sounds more like a lead line. All I'm doing is, from the first lesson, if you remember your D chord, remember you can also move that around. If I now put it up here on the 4th fret, and then my third finger on the 5th fret of the B string, I actually have an E chord. And all I'm doing is I'm arpeggiating that E chord, starting with the high note first. And then I'm gonna move up. And you're like, whoa, 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 Joe, I didn't learn that shape. Well, you kinda did. Remember the big E chord that we had up here? If you switch your fingers around and you use your bottom 3 fingers and leave your top finger alone, it's still an E chord, and now we can take this whole shape and move it up to the 5th fret. And now we have an A chord, but I'm breaking it down. I'm not playing that full chord, obviously. So if I start subtracting fingers, if I take my first finger away, my third finger away, my pinky away, I'm kind of left with this shape, which starts on the 6th fret of the G string, the 5th fret of the B string, and the 5th fret of the E string. That's an A chord. So even though this sounds like a lead line, we're utilizing chord shapes to get those sounds. Those will always be your sweetest notes to play when you're playing lead. I thought we'd take a look at the lead part up close. First, I'll play it slow. Now up tempo. Okay, let's jump on over to the practice tips. Okay, let's talk about what to practice. After you get your guitar in tune, make sure you get that new E shape underneath your fingers really good. And then practice switching between the E chord over to the A chord and try to do that as cleanly as possible. Make sure you're practicing with a steady beat. Get a metronome or download the track from my website for free and practice along with that. but maybe do 4 bars each of E, 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 E over to the A, and get that nice and smooth. Now remember, I'm showing you this chord combination for a reason. In a future series, we're going to string these together to make longer chord progressions. And finally, I want to say this. Just have fun playing music. If you find yourself getting frustrated when you're learning this stuff, put the guitar down for a while. It's okay. Come back to it later. It's better to come back to something with a fresh mind than to try to just cram yourself through it. You're not going to learn that way. So again, take breaks. You have permission to take breaks. That's all for this video. If you found any value in it whatsoever, please do me a favor and subscribe down below. Hit the like button, knock on the bell, and you'll be notified when the next video in this series is out. And until next time, have a wonderful day. In this series, there's 11 videos total. And by the time I'm filming this is the second video. First, get your guitar in tune as always. Then, make sure that you have your